Welcome back. President Trump has a long history of defending men accused of sexual harassment or domestic abuse, even denying accusations from women who have accused him of sexual misconduct, as we just heard. In a tweet this morning, the president said that people's lives are being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. Some are true and some are false. He adds their life and career are gone and questioned due process. Well, just this week, the president praised former aide Rob Porter amid allegations he was abusive to his two ex-wives. Trump stated that Porter, quote, worked very hard and that he did a very good job at the White House. However, Trump offered no general condemnation of domestic violence, nor did he mention the women who made the allegations. He didn't mention women at all. Now, remember when Trump defended and endorsed embattled Alabama Republican Roy Moore? Of course, he was the candidate accused of sexual misconduct with a minor. And Trump defended Bill O'Reilly and Roger Ailes, both of whom settled sexual harassment claims at Fox News to the tune of millions of dollars. Well, numerous women have also come forward to accuse the president of sexual misconduct over the years. Trump vehemently denied those claims and called those women liars. Well, last night, Vice President Mike Pence sat down with Lester Holt, and the vice president contradicted his boss's response to the Rob Porter scandal.
Well, I was appalled when I learned of the allegations against Rob Porter. At the time that he resigned is when I first became aware of the allegations of domestic abuse, and there's no tolerance in this White House and no place in America for domestic abuse.
I want to bring in our panel now. Joining me now is Democratic strategist Taryn Rosencrantz. Evan McMullen is a former CIA operative and 2016 presidential candidate. And Johns Hopkins professor, a contributor to The Hill, Wendy Osefo. And Taryn, let me start with you. I just want to get your reaction here to the tweet I read from just a moment ago from the President of the United States. What did it say to you when you read that tweet?
Well, it's just time and time again showing that there's no line, there's no standard of character. Do you remember back when he said he was going to hire the best people? And, you know, look at this. I mean, there's just no standard of character. He's created a moral vacuum in our highest level of office, and it's just disgraceful, honestly. And it's nice that, you know, Vice President Pence has said that, but it's very clear that Donald Trump remains on the side of the accused instead of the, you know, victims who have been out there and who have spoken out and who have had the courage and the bravery to speak out in these situations time and time again. I mean, I really feel like it's almost a moral vacuum right now that we're seeing, and it's just something that I think is sending a really strong message to the women of America, and I think it's sending a very strong message to our children and to the future about how we're going to handle these kinds of situations, and it's a dangerous step backwards. All
right, let me turn to the professor here for some textual analysis. Wendy, what did you make of the tweet this morning?
You know, I just think that the last fabric of this presidency and his administration is completely shredded. If you had any question on where this president stands as it pertains to morality, as it pertains to women, you can look at his tweet this morning. This is the same president who defended Corey Lewandowski when we had videographic evidence. This is the same president who defended Roy Moore, Bill O'Reilly, Roger Ailes. I mean, he continues to attack, victimize women who expose men. And this all boils down to one thing. And that one thing is the president knows if he sides with the accusers, he is opening his own Pandora's box of his own indiscretions. So what we have here is a president who does not speak for all Americans. What he stands for is people who not only think like him, but now we have evidence of people who act like him.
Evan McMullen, Reince Priebus has been in the news here a little bit. There is reporting that the president called up his former chief of staff to grouse about his current chief of staff. Reince Priebus was a guest on Hugh Hewitt's show this morning. Let's take a bit of a listen here to what he had to say about the situation that unfolded this week.
Order that we all knew in the West Wing. Yeah. It was one of those sort of moments where people just said, "You're kidding me! It can't. We're not talking about Rob Porter, are we? The Eagle Scout, Rhodes Scholar, Harvard undergrad. I mean, it was an incredible resume, but he was also very meek and polite and diligent. So I'm not saying that's an excuse for anything. I don't want anyone out there watching this thinking I am. I'm not. I'm just telling you.
You're shocked.
It was very surprising.
Evan, I just want you to react to that. Of course, Reince Priebus is not a member of this administration anymore, but what he said there, the arc of that comment, very similar to what we've been hearing from the White House over the course of this week. Look at Rob Porter, the former Rhodes Scholar. Look at Rob Porter, the Harvard Law School graduate.
Well, the reality is that you can have a former Rhodes Scholar who also abuses women. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, if we're still learning that lesson, perhaps that's valuable, but we need to learn it fast. The reality is somebody can pretend or actually be a competent professional and achieve many things while at the same time doing horrendous things in their personal lives. And that's just the way it is. But for Reince to pretend that they're shocked and appalled and all of that, I think is very disingenuous. First of all, the White House knew for quite some time about Rob Porter's problem, but also Reince and others helped elect a president who has bragged about his own abusive activities towards women, and they know that leadership matters. They're in that's their business. And in fact, leadership does matter, and it's impacting the way Americans think. And I remember a Quinnipiac poll that was released in late last month in January showing that 72% of Republicans now think that Trump is a good role model for children, if you can believe that. And that's where we are. Leadership matters. And I'm saying nothing of its impact, a lack of character on policy. I believe it's directly relevant to the policies that our president pursues as well. But it does impact the way Americans act.
Taryn, I saw you shaking your head there, and I just want to look at this as a missed opportunity. I think under past administrations, to characterize this as a teaching moment would be probably too charitable here, but certainly domestic violence is something that a president or his White House could be talking about in a much different light here. What do you just make of the way the White House has handled this? I mean, really defending here somebody who is just a staffer within the White House.
I mean, that's where I was starting to say earlier when it's just we're going so far backwards here. We shouldn't have to beg the White House to condemn domestic violence. I mean, take that for what it's worth. I mean, that's where we're at right now. We are not seeing a condemnation of domestic violence, something that we felt like as women and as a country, because it's not just women, the domestic violence, sure, but I want to make sure that we understand as a country that this is something that years and decades have gone by that we've tried to bring this out of the shadows, make people feel that they can come out and that they can, come forward with accusations and they'll be supported. And we've got the highest, leader in the land telling us differently and really standing and saying, oh gosh, look what's going to be done to their lives, saying nothing of what would happen and has happened to the many victims whose lives have been ruined by what's happened to them.
Wendy, one of my producers unearthed a tweet here from a few years back, from back in 2012. There was a situation involving Rihanna and Chris Brown and President Trump, then candidate Trump, not even candidate Trump, just Donald Trump, took it upon himself to tweet on that, to weigh into that matter. This is what he wrote. If Rihanna is dating Chris Brown again, then she has a death wish. A beater is always a beater. Just watch. So we see a change of tune here within the White House. A phrase I keep hearing time and time again is moral fiber, looking for moral fiber within this White House. Do you see any evidence of it?
No, I do not see any evidence of it. And, when it comes to Trump, there's a tweet for everything. It really goes, tongue in cheek here. He speaks against things that he knows is wrong when it's someone else doing it. But when it happens within his own orbit, he fails to condemn it. And that is one of the biggest issues with this presidency. He continues to throw rocks, but he lives in a glass house. So, you're talking about Rihanna, you're talking about domestic violence. So it does exist. But yet you are not speaking to it when you have someone within your own close orbit who is doing the same things. And then I hear that he was romantically involved with Hope Hicks. So that is just a fiduciary duty as the commander of the free world to do something, and he has failed.
Evan, my last question to you. We're talking about Hope Hicks. We're talking about John Kelly. The president himself weighing into this yesterday on camera, but on Twitter this morning. When you look at who's at fault here, who's controlling the message here from the White House, once the president weighs in as he has, is this less an onus on John Kelly or Hope Hicks than it was?
Look, I think they all share in the blame and in the responsibility. I mean, Kelly knew for quite some time about Rob Porter's problem and decided to look the other way, decided to give him more, not less, responsibility. The president has set the tone by abusing women throughout his life and bragging about it. I mean, they're all part of it. Hope Hicks has decided to be part of this group, despite the disrespect that they show to women. I mean, they're all part of this, but it's, it has an impact. It has an impact on our national security. It has an impact on the way women across the country are treated. It has an impact on policies that can leave us in financial ruin. character matters, and we're seeing a case study of that, and hopefully we'll all learn the lesson. But when our leaders lack character, it creates all kinds of problems at all levels of society, and that's what we're seeing now.
I will leave it there. Evan, thank you very much. Evan McMullen, Taryn Rosencrantz, Wendy Osefo, thank you all very much for your time this afternoon.